Donald Trump has not been very helpful to states seeking help on various things, including medical supplies, funding, just like the basics to get through this overwhelming pandemic. And it's interesting that his response to these governors recently was, you know what you should do? You should thank me. I've been awesome. Now, it's not like far-fetched for Trump to do something like that. That's just fundamentally who he is. But get a load of this tweet. He said, remember this. Every governor who has sky-high approval on their handling of the coronavirus, and I am happy for them all, could in no way have gotten those numbers or had that success without me and the federal government's help. From ventilators to testing, we made it happen. So that's rich. That's rich coming from Donald Trump. I mean, he's like the most shameless troll on the planet. Mm-hmm. And for anyone who maybe didn't pay close attention to the pandemic somehow, you're miraculously in a different world and you're enjoying yourself. Let me just give you a little tasty taste of how he's been toward various governors. Let's start off with him going after Governor Larry Hogan.
We provided each governor with a list of the names, addresses, and phone numbers of the labs where they can find additional testing capacity within their states. Hundreds and hundreds of labs are ready, willing, and able. Some of the governors, like, as an example, the governor from Maryland didn't really understand the list. He didn't understand too much about what was going on. So now I think he'll be able to do that. It's pretty simple.
I remember that.
Amazing.
I remember that.
But, Hogan should be thanking him today. Let's go to one more video, John. And this is Trump talking about what kind of authority he has over governors.
If a governor issued a stay-at-home
When you
order,
say my authority, the president's authority, not mine, because it's not me. This is when somebody's the president of the United States, the authority is total. And that's the way it's got to be.
total. Your authority is total.
It's total. It's total.
Your authority
And the
is
governors
total.
know that.
So if a
The governors know that. Now you have a couple of bands of excuse me. You have a couple.
Could you rescind that order?
You have a couple of bands of Democrat governors, but they will agree to it. They will agree to it. But the authority of the president of the United States having to do with the subject we're talking about is total.
Okay. And then I have one more video, but John, I want you to jump in. He's been a disaster, especially toward governors who have asked him for help with medical supplies, with funding, with what they need to respond appropriately to this pandemic.
Well, I mean, I'm still thankful of the time that he sent, was it a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 broken ventilators to California. That was cool. Liked it. I like old tech, junky cars that you can try to fix up or something. But really, I think what you're describing, the fact that he has been from the very beginning an incredibly enthusiastic failure on the pandemic makes him right. The approval rating of these governors, by comparison to Donald Trump, probably is better than it would otherwise be. The fact that Trump, it looks so bumbling and so unconcerned and so callous and heartless, I mean, that definitely is a big part of why Cuomo is being considered this godlike figure by so many people. I mean, by comparison, anyone who seems to care about whether you live or die is going to look like they're doing a pretty good job. When Donald Trump is he's dancing around in a circus talking about drinking bleach and stuff like that. Yeah, by comparison, people outside of Trump are going to look great. So he's not 100% wrong. He's just a buffoon.
And it's also kind of amazing how, he didn't have to comment on governors who currently have a decent approval rating. He could have just dropped it. But he sees some governors, I'm just assuming, probably saw some numbers of governors who are doing okay, and he wants to take credit for it. It's like, no, you're a disaster. You are a disaster for your own administration. How about not trying to take credit for what other politicians are doing right, because you have only been an obstacle. You haven't helped them in any way, shape, or form. In fact, he admitted that he's not responsible. He will not take responsibility for things that he should take responsibility for. If you forgot about that wonderful moment, here it is.
Fauci said earlier this week that the lag in testing was, in fact, a failing. Do you take responsibility for that?
No, I don't take responsibility at all because we were given a set of circumstances and we were given rules, regulations, and specifications from a different time.
He takes no responsibility at all. If you're not going to take responsibility when it comes to doing the right thing and helping governors and states with what they need to fight this pandemic, you don't get to take responsibility when they're able to accomplish things without you. Like by definition, they did it without you, or they did it despite how much of an obstacle you've been. Like the federal government's been a nightmare in this pandemic.
You know, we were talking about this yesterday, like that one of his big flaws that has more than likely made him less successful in business and in politics than he would otherwise be is that he cannot stand to see anyone else, even his allies, friends, all of that, do well or be respected. It bothers him so much. It's one of the most fundamental signs of internal weakness and lack of self-esteem that you can't stand to see other people succeed. But you're seeing it here. Look, some of the governors that are getting high approval ratings are Democrats. Okay, he's going to hate that. But some of them are Republicans, and he can't stand that either, which is why if you're a Republican watching this and you're planning to run for president someday, like let's imagine that Trump loses and then in 2.5 years, like Cruz is the candidate or something. Like, you would have to be the dumbest person in the country to think that he's going to do literally anything to get you elected. Like, that he's going to give a speech about how awesome you are and stump for you and try to get you to be. Like, it's not going to happen. He doesn't care about anyone other than himself.
No one doesn't care about anyone. And all he's thinking about right now is, what do I do to minimize how much this is going to impact me for this upcoming election? That's it. That's it. And it doesn't matter that more and more people are dying. How can I manipulate the numbers so it doesn't seem like the death toll is as high as it is? How can I take credit for politicians doing things right, even though I've been an obstacle? He's been a nightmare. We need to get him out. And despite how critical I've been of Joe Biden, and I will continue to be critical when it makes sense and when it's fair to be critical, I do understand how devastating and how disastrous it would be to have someone like Donald Trump reelected for a second term. I don't think that this country can withstand that. And I don't know. I just wish the Democratic Party was a little more strategic, capable, intelligent. Strategic, just intelligent, like just better overall in, propping up at least propping up a candidate who isn't as deeply flawed as Biden, because there is a lot on the line. But this is what we're dealing with.
Hey, all right, super fast
go ahead.
To make you feel better. I saw a headline. I just retweeted it. Biden is calling for rent and mortgage payments to be canceled during the pandemic. Not postponed, but canceled. That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of really good politicians like AOC have been calling for that. Ilhan Omar have been calling for that.
Yeah, get it done. Get it done. Okay, I can say all sorts of things. Anyone can say all sorts of things. Democrats have told us all sorts of things. But like, they never get it done. And more often than not, it is politicians like Joe Biden who actually do the exact opposite. Like the bankruptcy bill, for instance. So yeah, I get it. I get it. Like, that's a great thing to say, but I'm really tired of like the cheap talk. Like, I want to see action,
I know, but if I'm giving credit to Ilhan Omar when she says it, and she can't make it happen today, I have to give credit to him too. He's not president today. He can't make it happen today.
I totally get that.
Talk is not the end of it, but we want them to at least say the right, especially since this is a campaign. Like, what you are saying you're going to do is really what you have. And up until 5 minutes ago, he hadn't said anything that impressed me in literally weeks. So, yeah, I'm trying to provide the right incentives to him to the extent that I can.
I think there also needs to be a discussion, and I don't know if people are going to be are going to have a negative reaction to this. Look, there are small landlords, and AOC brought this up, and I'm so grateful that she did. Small landlords, like a family or one person who owns like one build, like a small building or a house that they rent out or whatever, and that's like literally their only income. If they're not able to get any type of income from rent, then they're still expected to pay the water bill and the electricity for their tenants. Like, there needs to be some relief, not for these massive landlords that are like, you know, these corporations. I'm talking about my dad. Like, honestly, I'm talking about my dad, because he's not collecting rent from his tenants, but he's got to pay the utility bills. How is he going to do that? And how is he going to provide for himself? And I just feel like there's a lot of commentary coming from politicians who want to look out for renters, which is the right thing to do. But we also need to like expand that conversation a little bit to see what kind of like relief we can give to small landlords who are really struggling right now as well.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.